Greetings and salutations. Welcome to my channel. This is Jason Schattner, aka Phototech, and I have not been making a lot of videos for quite some time. I was really sick. I was working really hard at my day job. It was multiple things, and I will probably make a video explaining and talking about this. I am a gamer, not a YouTuber. I am a gamer, not a YouTuber. If I'm tired, I would rather just curl up and play a video game, and then as opposed to make a bunch of videos. So this video is going to be an unboxing of a Nintendo video game system. I'm quite sure we'll all enjoy. I'm just kidding. Actually, there's nothing inside this GameCube box. This is actually the box for my GameCube. I pulled this down as an example for size to the Nintendo Switch box. Because when I saw the Nintendo Switch box, I said, wow, this is small for a console. So I'm gonna compare. This is comparison to the next smallest box for any Nintendo console ever, the GameCube. The Nintendo Switch box is a little bit longer. It's a little bit thinner than the GameCube box. And the GameCube box is a little bit taller. Unlike the GameCube boxes or the NES and the Super NES or any other Nintendo system, the Nintendo Switch box is interesting that it is completely devoid of any photographs of any video games. You do not see any video games on this box. That is very interesting. And I just gave you the whole look around of the box. That's the main front. My local GameStop currently has a whole bunch of these. There's still a bunch of them here and there in scattered piles. And this is going to be an unboxing of the Nintendo Switch, which I will share with you. And I'm quite sure you probably... Ooh, which way? I'm quite sure you've probably seen this already, but on the underside is the instructions, and right there is that's my Nintendo 3DS XL, and ha ha ha. Actually, this is a re-unboxing. I already opened up the Nintendo Switch earlier, and I played around with it. I synced everything up with my accounts. This is always a good opportunity to change your account passwords for your Nintendo network. The easiest way to sign on to a Nintendo Switch is your connect your accounts is to sign on using, say, like your Google Plus or Facebook or anything like that. So this was also my opportunity to go and change my Facebook password, my Google Plus, my Twitter, all that other stuff. So here is the actual, this is what it looks like in the box, which is actually quite minimalistic and straight up. There's hardly anything, it's not cramped tight with all kinds of stuff. There's the Joy-Cons, the left, the right, and the center of might. My personal opinion, it's very simple. By the way, whenever someone on eBay says they got a sealed Nintendo Switch box, it comes loose. There's no tape or anything on it. You could literally open it up, put it back together, and it'd be the same way as you bought it. By the way, in the bottom corner, there's a diagram of all the stuff that comes in with the box. I removed the Joy-Cons and the Switch unit, and there's the second layer. On this side, there's the power cord. By the way, I'm going to rate every little component that pops up in this review with my basic opinion as it felt when I opened it up. The HDMI cable, the grip, which sits in the center, the Joy-Con grip, the little latch straps for the Joy-Cons, and here's the very bare bones basic Switch manual. Hardly anything there. It's kind of sad. I grew up in the NES, Super NES, N64 era when you would get a whole bunch of pamphlets with stuff like a subscription to Nintendo Power and a whole bunch of other things. It was truly a wonderful time to be a gamer. Modern game console boxes are quite underwhelming. There's a lot of cords and stuff like that. There's the box. It is empty. It is empty and it's light as all heck. There's the top box. By the way, there's this interesting little insert that goes in the bottom of this top one here. It's almost like they almost intended it to be able to house something bigger and deeper in there than there actually is. And I'm also going to cover a few other side topics here. I'm going to go backwards on this. This is the docking station. By the way, I've never really used the dock when I unboxed it the first time to do everything. Now, there's been reports of the Nintendo Switch dock scratching the Nintendo Switch. And various people on Facebook and some of the groups, there was a few guys that actually figured out why the dock scratches the Switch. And I'm going to pull out the Switch from the case because my dock is not actually suspect to it. The dock slides in, and just like that. Now, why I say my dock is not prone to it. Apparently, at some point in the manufacturing or shipping process or something, some individuals' docks are pinched or warped ever so slightly. This flap right here is bent in slightly. So when you pull your Switch in and out of the dock, or it's twisted ever so slightly. So when they molded this piece in the factory, there was a minor defect that caused this to be slightly warped. So when you insert a Switch, some of them, this front piece rubs on the screen of the Switch. As I said before, mine is not subject to that. So I don't have to worry. I can pull it out, put it in, pull it out, put it in, because mine is not warped. Now, I'm going to continue talking about the dock. The dock is very interesting. I was actually kind of hoping that it had some little extra magic that could actually boost up the system, but the dock is largely just a large shell that holds this piece back here that connects to the underside to a USB-C slot in the bottom of the Switch. You can see it glint in the bottom. So you could cut this off, you could trim off the top, and you could have just had a little dock station. If Nintendo seriously wanted to go this route, Nintendo could have really just made this for the Nintendo Switch and had the Switch sit in it like that. And that's technically upside down. Have it sit in the top like this. And have a little box section right here, or essentially just this with the USBs and the AC adapter and the HDMI out. As I also mentioned before, I pretty much don't even use this. I pretty much use my Switch as a handheld or tabletop. This is, by the way, my Wii U charge dock for my gamepad. I will get to the actual Switch console later. I'll go and talk about this pamphlet, which is exceedingly boring and utterly minimal in information, and I totally miss the beautiful, beautiful manuals and the illustrations of past consoles and past video games. I'm not joking. This is basically just legalese. It just basically says health and safety information and usage guidelines in multiple languages. I miss manuals. They had such pretty artwork. They really let the personality of the system come out. But that's not the case. That's not the case anymore. Now I'm going to talk about the HDMI. This is just a standard HDMI. This is going to be fun. I'm not using it because I don't even use the dock station. Not yet. My TV only has 2 HDMI ports. Just for shits and gigglies, it's roughly 3 cubits long. Yeah, working it out. It's 3 cubits long. Or roughly 2 feet, 3 feet. Yeah. Can't get excited about an HDMI cable. It's a very basic thing. If you're looking, kind of stuff, I'm not that way. Maybe I was that way when I was a little kid, but I am not that way. If I ever truly do that, you truly know I am super excited about something. Now on to these little guys. The little wrist straps for the Joy-Cons, and I'll then cover the Joy-Cons next after these. Please note that there's been people complaining about these getting stuck on their Joy-Cons, and I can vouch for this myself. I have gotten these stuck on my Joy-Cons. I personally don't use them, but the problem is this funny thing. You see this plus, there's a plus here on the Joy-Con, see? And then there's a minus on the back side, or on the other side. And you're supposed to match up plus plus. If you do this wrong and you put it on the other way, or you flip it around, you flip it around this way and you put it on the other way, it gets really hard to take off. This button right here is a release button for that, and this is a lock. Mine are stiff as all heck, and they're sturdy as all heck. Personally, what I can say about this is the Joy-Cons are very light. It's amazing how much technology Nintendo has packed inside of these guys, particularly the HD rumble / haptic feedback. Let's play the game. Can I get these off of my Joy-Cons? And it takes quite a bit. You push, there's this button back here that you push on that releases it from there. There's 2 little notches there. And trust me, when the first few times you take this and put this on and off, it's going to be stiff. And it's going to be hard to take on and off. The right Joy-Con has the home button, and excuse me, I had to pause this for a moment. It's no big deal. I'm back, and I just simply paused the video ever so slightly. And as I was saying about the Joy-Cons, it's rather amazing that they're super light and they're really loaded with a lot of features. As I was saying, they are amazingly light. I cannot stress that enough. It is like literally the first, last, and maybe this middle thing I could think of when I pick them up is that they are, wow, how light these are. It is just incredible. They also fit quite well in my hands. They don't feel awkward or anything. It is actually rather amazing. You know, I also personally ponder the dual usage of these extra buttons here, because this is, you got the ZR and you got the R, and you also have to take these off, the SR and the SL. As I told you before, SR and SL. So you could always simply consider the possibility that some games at some point in the future could be designed. There's already, by the way, there's one game that's coming that's for the Nintendo Switch that is called Vols or something like that. It's a Japanese touch game that can only be played in mobile mode. So it's the first true only mobile only game for the Switch, or portable Switch game. So you can't even play it in TV mode. However, I could also see the possibility of a game at some point potentially using these buttons and these buttons, as well as these buttons on the face simultaneously, because it's quite easy. You hold the controller with your middle fingers and be like Spider-Man or something, and be able to push these buttons, you know, the SLs and the RLs and everything else. And as I said before, the only issue I keep coming across with my Joy-Cons is that they're stiff to come off the grips or the straps. So, oops. And it's also easy to accidentally lock them too. I don't use the straps very often, so that is often a common problem. Yeah, the SL and the SR are on the right one and the left one. Same number, same designation. There's also the plus and minus buttons, standard fun stuff. These are like miniature, super powerful versions of the Nintendo Wii gamepads. So it's easy to lock them because there's this lock down here on the bottom that just, you're holding them, you naturally bump it into place with your hand, and so there, that is neat. Also, I was considering, the notion of having a mini insert. Nintendo could design a mini insert to set between there so it sits really close. But then thinking about that would be so close you could hardly use the Joy-Cons properly. Maybe an extra wide body insert. Okay, on to the next thing. The Joy-Con grip. I didn't put any time into really using the Joy-Con grip. I will do that. I'll talk more about it later on. But the Joy-Con grip feels very nice overall. It is a nice size. There's also a charge version of this. This is just the basic grip. There's a charging version of this grip that recharges the Joy-Cons. Just so you know, this kind of reminds me of a spaceship from Star Trek. Like one of those really small saucer starships from the Federation. So to go into any more details on it, it just feels alright. Okay, I'm not gonna put any effort into reviewing any depth on the Joy-Con grip. And I also thought about the question of like having just holding a Joy-Con grip and just having the Joy-Con, because in some ways this actually feels better in one hand, but I'm perfectly fine with the other hand just being loose like this. And that's just probably because I have a boxing fracture in this hand and it gets kind of hard to hold something really small for very long. However, interestingly enough, I didn't really have that problem when I was playing on my Switch. You know, when I first unboxed it, that sat down and did a whole bunch of stuff and then started playing. So, I pretty much covered that. I will, at a later point, do another video talking about my serious first impressions about the Nintendo Switch and how I really feel about it as a system. This is just a very early first impression that is a day or two late. Now I'm going to talk about the power supply. I personally hate this thing. I truly do hate this thing. I almost would have rather had a brick. This plug is a pain in the butt. I'm not everything else on the Switch. I'm good with everything on the Switch. The grip is nice. This is kind of minimal, but this is, you know, this is my serious gripe right here. Seriously. You plug this into an outlet. It eats up so much space. It has a tall top over the edge of this, over the plugs. So it actually crowds the next plug over unless it's a wall socket. So if you're putting it into a power strip, which incidentally my antenna is a digital boost antenna, so it happens to have this same exact setup going to the end, so it is on the very end. So if I wanted to plug this into my power strip, I would have to waste 3 plugs just for this. I would have to bend the cord like that and waste a plug here and waste a plug here, and I don't have enough plugs left on my power strip for this. So what I have it on is an extension cord from another outlet that's tucked away in the corner that I happen to charge my DS and 3DS on, which if I actually used this, put this together and plugged it into my TV, that would be a total pain in the butt. That's just how my setup is. But me just using this as a gaming system, handheld system like my Nintendo 3DS or PS Vita or a Game Gear, it's no big problem because I can plug it into the extension cord. Get off of that. Now on to the Switch. Now, first and foremost, people are like complaining that it's $300. First and foremost, a good tablet is $250 up. If you're buying anything under $250 in a tablet, it is very minimal and you don't have much functionality. And you don't have as much processing power as this. It's actually getting pretty close to that. People complain about this kickstand. Personally, why? What I could suggest to Nintendo is if they put the kickstand to the center for more stability, or they put a second kickstand in here so you can actually flip both kickstands out and set it up there, and it's then more stable. However, if you are just simply setting it down and playing a game, it is no big deal. People are just nitpicking the crap out of it. It could have been improved. They could have made the bottom of the kickstand a little bit wider and maybe legged it over this way a little bit so it could actually be a bit more stable. But at the same time, it's seriously not a situation. Now, as I told you before, I've actually already been playing my Nintendo Switch, and the fun thing is, every time you take the Joy-Cons, it does the click. That is just wonderful. It is actually quite responsive. People are complaining about the UI interface. It's snappy. It's not slow as heck. Go to eShop. There's my icon. It's Wolfoto, spelled the other way, similar to my other YouTube channel. Now, the eShop channel takes a little bit of while to load up. It's like that. It's actually quite quick compared to the 3DS or the Nintendo Wii U. I'm actually quite happy about it. There's only a few options. There's only like 6 games. No demos or anything. I really am just kind of annoyed that there's no serious demos. If there's demos in here, they hid them, which would annoy the snot. Oh, there's a demo. Sniffer Clips as a demo. Let's. It's literally the only game I didn't look at on the eShop, and it's literally the only game that has a demo. And I would really think it would be a really super awesome idea to have demos for games. Like Bomberman or Super Bomberman R, that would be really awesome to have a demo. And I decided, just literally as I'm talking to you, to download an actual demo. The coming soon section only has 3 games. Yet again, this is an early launch system. This is a launch system. You know, this is the first time I've ever actually bought a video game system in the first year. I've always been a second year person. And it's actually quite responsive. And this paper clips popped up right there on the screen, and it is currently downloading. And my internet connection is not right home about, but it is serviceable. I can play Super Smash Brothers Brawl. I can play Super Smash Brothers for the Wii U, and I can play Splatoon and various other Nintendo Wii U games over my Wi-Fi connection and not have terribly much difficulty. There is this nice little touch. There's the volume switch up here, which is actually quite nice. The plus or minus buttons don't seem to do anything in the eShop. There's a screen cap button, which is quite nice. At a later date, Nintendo will then add the ability to record video, and you can also upload screenshots and video to your social media accounts. It's not going to be like the share feature. I don't think it's going to be like the share feature to YouTube like the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One has. Yes, I'm drinking hams. It's the hammiest. My personal opinion of the Switch in in the time I have played with it and messed around, is that it is a wonderful system. There are some questionable things. This is just a lot of plastic, is that's unnecessary. This is like, what are they thinking? Everything else is great. The user interface is simple, it's responsive. It would have been nice to have a lot more features in the UI, but I am not gonna tear Nintendo apart over the UI. It's a system. Nintendo had to rush it to market. The natural, normal Nintendo cycle would have been to release the system probably this fall, which would have meant that whatever innovations that would have came out for the Nintendo Switch between here and this fall would have been on it day one in the fall. So, there. I'm actually okay with not having Netflix or Hulu or anything like that on the Switch. I already have enough of those apps. I have my phone, which has all that crap on it. Sorry. And I already have my TV and my PlayStations that have that stuff on it. I don't really need it on my Switch, but it would be nice to have some of it on my Switch. My only other complaint about the Nintendo Switch as a system itself is the 32 gigabytes internal storage. At some point, it would have been awesome. First of all, it would have been awesome if Nintendo bumped it up to 64 gigabytes. That would have been super awesome. That would have been much better than 32, and 128 would be much better than 64, and 556 would be much better than 128. You get my drift. But that's Nintendo's decision. I will also talk to you while my Nintendo Switch is downloading a demo. While I'm doing this, I just totally took this off of the whole Switch thing. The micro SD card is an XC. By the way, an SD XC card, the maximum standard for that card is 2 terabytes. That should pretty much cover the memory problem. However, the largest SDXC micro mini, not micro mini, micro memory card that's on the market is 256, and they're actually quite expensive. But still, I am a physical media person. It's not going to bother me too much. Maybe the DLC will fill up the Switch eventually, but there you go. Now, on to the next thing. There has been a rumor. Rich talked about it weeks ago. And he wasn't terribly enthused about it. But actually, it's not really a rumor. Kimishima and Tatsumi Kimishima, the president of Nintendo, actually stated that at some point Nintendo will release add-ons or upgrades to the Nintendo Switch. And he was really strange. It was actually an interview with a Japanese business magazine where it was talking about the Nintendo Switch a little bit months back. Everyone apparently forgot about it except for, the handful of people who watch Game Explain, in which, Game Explain jumps on every rumor in every little news story and does half-hour or conversations, 1 hour conversations about a tiny little rumor from some corner of the internet, or a little news article about Nintendo and etc. But basically, the way I worked it out was that at some point Nintendo does have that patent for a supplementary computing or processing device that could add to it. So at some point, Nintendo will release a new version of this that may even include a gigantic graphics card and coprocessor inside of it. So when you plug your Switch into it, it boosts the processing power of your Nintendo Switch in TV mode. And Nintendo has a patent indicating that very thing, and Nintendo actually pursued it and paid the final fees and everything to secure it. You can apply for a patent, henceforth the patent pending part, and then there's actually seriously the actual patent itself. Okay? So at some point, Nintendo may release a new version of this that actually does have processing power built into it that could power up the Switch when you plug it into it. It is also possible that Nintendo could always later on down the road sell new versions of the Joy-Con with maybe extra buttons or a built-in camera, so you have more ways to play. There's also a possibility that Nintendo could always release a new version of the Switch, like a Super Switch, and you could then take the Super Switch and put it into the Joy-Cons and put it in your docking station and play just like that. Kimishima has already indicated the strong possibility of an updated or potentially add-ons or upgrades to the Nintendo Switch. So there, yeah, my demo just got done, so it didn't take terribly long. I will just cut it off here, and I'm gonna go goof around, maybe play some more Breath of the Wild. My next video is either going to be my video talking about my first impressions of the Breath of the Wild, or my actually I'll wait later for the Switch. It's serious first impressions of the Switch video. I will basically just do Breath of the Wild, play the crap out of that, and then move on to another game. I had a lot of things going on and had to spend a lot of money, so I couldn't get all the games I wanted, and there wasn't that many games to begin with, but there I go. I'm going to go pack this back away, because as I said before, I'm not going to be using it. The Switch is basically a handheld to me, which works out fine because I mostly play handhelds now anyways. I could pull out my game... Oh. Added bonus section. Quick size comparison of my 3DS XL and the Nintendo Switch. .3DS XL basically takes up the actual lit up section of the screen of the Nintendo Switch. Now, this is called a Sega Game Gear. That sucker covers the Switch, putting it end to end. The Game Gear basically is the width of the Switch in one of the Joy-Cons. I still have the sticker on it, $59.99 when I bought it at Cinema Fair, a local flea market. The dust magnet, my PS Vita. Which is basically the size of the screen of the Nintendo Switch. Just a little bit bigger, actually. So, there, I just gave you a quick size comparison of the Nintendo Switch and PS Vita and the Game Gear and the Nintendo 3DS XL. Thank you very much for checking out my channel. Please consider putting comments below. Please tell me what games you want me to review in what order, okay? I pretty much will review them all, but I'm not going to rush to it. I'm just going to have fun. After all, this is for fun first and foremost, and not about money or becoming super popular or anything like that. I just want to put my 2 cents down on topics. Hopefully Nintendo can really expand upon the Switch. There's iffiness, but of course I've never been a first year person. And by the way, the typical Nintendo system, with the exclusion of the Wii, the Wii U, and the GameCube, typically had only 2 to 3 games at launch. That is a typical Nintendo system. The exception for the Nintendo and for the NES was it had like 18 games, but that was because the system was 3 years old. It was released 3 years later because it was originally 2 to 3 years after Japan, the original Japanese release. I'm just mulling my words. I think I had too much hams. Have a wonderful evening.